Today we're going to be taking the brand new DJI RS3 Pro through its paces. As a solo creator, one of my biggest setbacks for creating videos has to do with filming myself in engaging ways. My setup is far from compact, but the camera and audio deliver the level of quality that I strive for. I have tested nearly every gimbal out there to see if one could work for me in pretty much any situation. Most have failed. For the past month, I have put the RS3 Pro through every adventurous scenario that I encountered just to see how far I could push it. Will it hold up? Or will the one or two major setbacks cause the RS3 to sit on the shelf next to all the other gimbals to collect dust? Now, if you're coming from the RS2, the design language is relatively similar. On the Pro, you have a carbon fiber top section here. Similar to the RS2, you can easily detach the top head part of the gimbal and reveal just the handle and battery grip. Of course, it comes with a tripod, which unfortunately is a 1/4-20. I wish it was the bigger 5/8, 3/8, whatever it's called. USB Type-C charging cable in the front. Fairly standard gimbal controls, including a trigger with multiple functions. Your focus and customizing wheel is up here with your index finger. You have two NATO rail mounting points on the side. You have a battery indicator button down here at the bottom. Screen, joystick, mode button, record button, power button, and a dedicated mode selector button. What do you mean you're not impressed? All right. That's right, this is the first gimbal to have fully auto locking axes. I originally didn't think it was a super standout feature, just something that would be a little bit mentioned. But no, it has completely spoiled me, and now anytime I've grabbed every other gimbal, it is instantly the first thing that I miss. And yes, when you turn it off, it folds back up. Now, of course, I've saved the best new feature optional accessory for last, and that is the brand new LiDAR focusing system. Absolutely, hands down, makes this the coolest gimbal ever. It is a separate attachment. It does not come with the gimbal. I believe it was last year with the RS2, they announced their kind of focusing system that allowed you to use something like a cine lens and a totally non-autofocus camera and basically give you autofocus. They completely upgraded the modules. They have a camera, they have the whole LiDAR system. You can actually calibrate 3 different lenses for the LiDAR system. And the function button allows you to change between each lens. So for me, this is my 45, which is actually C2. If I switch to my 15, my wide angle, I could go back to C1. The AF/MF button basically just turns on and off the LiDAR system. So now that you can see that when I turn my finger on the focus wheel, I'm manually focusing the lens. But if I hit the AF button once, the light is now green on the back of the LiDAR system. The finger wheel no longer has any control over the focus wheel, and now we are in full autofocus. So now you can see that if I bring my hand closer, it's going to recognize the subject and going to focus on it. And if I move my hand, it's going to then focus on the background. So if you guys want to see a full in-depth tutorial on how to calibrate the lenses, let me know down in the comments below. So now let's jump into some actual use cases of the gimbal and see how it performs. For the first one, let's go take a stroll in the woods. So it's really nice being in these scenic environments and just, you know, testing out this gimbal that basically nobody else has. But seriously, we're hanging out with Cliff and Cajun today. If you haven't checked out their channel before, what's wrong with you? They'll be in the link in the description. They make amazing content around drones, filmmaking, and all this sorts of stuff. And so they're gonna be doing an in-depth video on the RS3 while I'm checking out the RS3 Pro here. And yeah, should be a fun time. Hopefully no one falls off of this cliff. Right, Cliff? Right? Come on.
So I'm balancing the 70 to 200 on the RS3. One thing I noticed, to get it to balance, you have to kind of offset this slider on the side a little bit, so it's not actually locked in on the bottom. Until you push that arm over, I think we got it. Start calibration. All right, we got the check mark. Let's see what happens.
Wow.
That is fantastic. Oh, vlogging's gonna be a little awkward. But other than that, I think we're great.
I feel like we're just in a dance right now.
Right? This is
It's called the gimbal dance.
all I see is a big furry thing on top of your camera. It's so weird.
So one of the things that I know a lot of people are going to be asking is, can you use the fancy new LiDAR sensor on the regular RS3, not just the Pro? So we're going to test that out really quickly. It does technically have the same bottom USB-C port, so we've got that plugged in here and plug it in. And then for this test, I don't think it's going to work, so go ahead and power it on. And then if you look on the back of this gimbal here, we should be able to swipe left. And nope. I am getting lights on here for power to the LiDAR sensor, but yeah, on the RS3 Pro, you would swipe to the left. So it looks like they have that menu disabled on the RS3. So if you want the LiDAR sensor and all this fancy technology, you gotta go up to the RS3 Pro. So one downside of completely maximizing the payload on this gimbal is the fact that we've only been filming for like an hour and a half, and I'm at 30%. Let's see if we can actually plug into power and keep using the gimbal while it charges. Got it. Hopefully this powers the gimbal. Aha!
It's charging.
Unlimited power. Well, hopefully as long as the output is higher than the draw.
So yeah, I should definitely record my audio on camera. That would make sense. You know, if Sony would make their audio handle better and like lower profile, so it doesn't make the gimbal do this all the time, then I would do it on camera. But because the audio handle for this is garbage, I have to use this guy. Sync it up later.
Take that, Sony. All right, so I'm in a cave, and a normal camera's autofocus is gonna have a hard time because it is basically pitch black in here. But since we're using the LiDAR to focus it, even though you may not see me very well, hopefully I can adjust in post and make myself brighter, but I should be in focus even though I'm not exposed all that well. All right, so with the LiDAR, you can actually focus a couple different ways. Its default is just kind of a center focus, has that little box there, but then you can actually change it to flex spot, which allows you to draw a little box anywhere that you want the focus to be. Or you can set it to wide, and then if we see a person, you can see it actually follows their face. And if I hit the trigger and we get the green box, now if she moves around, it'll actually follow her, and active track is turned on. So super cool.
Just walk around, it's not mess with the camera. Do hobo YouTuber things. Let's do it again. This time be a fast photographer. 30 photos in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, there it goes. All right, you beat it.
I got my food, Daddy.
I see that. All right, so far I found one issue with calibrating the LiDAR sensor. Let me show you. So once you set your lens focal length, you need to calibrate the focus motor by measuring a object at 1 meter and 4 meters. Now the 1 meter usually isn't a problem, but you see we're on a relatively tiny boat right now, and so almost nothing is 4 meters away. And so that's not allowing me to calibrate the lens for the autofocus. So unless you pre-calibrate before you get to like a small space like this, that may be an issue that you run into. So one of the features that I want to test out is when you calibrate this gimbal, you can actually choose between the regular smooth mode and the super smooth, which basically just tightens up all the motors. And even with longer lenses like the 45 we have on here, the SuperSmooth should give us pretty much incredible results, and hopefully it will balance with kind of this max payload. So a buddy of mine actually last minute asked me if I was available to film a wedding. I haven't done a wedding in like 5 years. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very confident that I'm good at it because I spent the first like 5 to 7 years of my career doing it. And so at first I was like, eh. But then I thought the Ronin line is one of the most popular gimbals for wedding videographers out there. And so what better way to show those wedding videographers that the RS3 Pro is up to the task than taking it out on a real wedding. However, since this is not released yet, we just gotta be a little more inconspicuous. Yeah, that's good. Undercover. Okay, the wedding's going well so far. The only downside is since I'm at max payload on this thing, the gimbal's already at 47% battery, and we're not even past the bridal prep stuff yet. So thankfully that battery solution should come into play, but it's handling like a champ, but chewing through battery. All right, update, it's going well. This whole thing came into super clutch because it actually charged up the camera, as well as I ran USB-C to the gimbal front, and it charged it basically 3/4 of the way while I was still using it. So this is back up to like 80%, so that's doing well. And I am now charging this with the whole big anchor thing, and that's charging pretty quick actually, 30 watts. Again, maxing out the payload, it's not the easiest thing in the world, and battery is something you have to think about throughout the day, but it's going well so far. Okay, I am back from the wedding. It went extremely well, and honestly the gimbal did great. I just have one complaint that really started to affect by the end of the night. So I was doing a fair amount of lens swapping between my 15 and 45, and so I was constantly adjusting the focus motor and kind of putting tension here and all around there, swapping lenses in and out. And that caused the mounting plate to start to loosen, and so now you can see the camera, it's a little bit loose. It may not look like much, but it's a lot when you have a heavy lens support, and all that, and it was causing the focus motor not to contact with the lens, and so this would turn but not actually turn the lens. And that all has to do with the fact that there was only one 1/4-20 attached. You can see the second hole of the Pocket 6K Pro, so I wish there was an ability to have this plate have two 1/4-20s this way rather than just the one. So that's kind of a bummer, but again, if you don't have this specific camera package, then you should be able to get 2 screws, or you just won't run into this problem. All right, so let's talk cons. The major con has actually been present in a handful of clips in this video. Comment down below if you think you know what the major flaw of this setup is. It is the autofocus with on-camera mics. That's right, a few times in this video when I've been using this setup to talk to camera holding it out in front of me, you may have heard a very deep rumble that almost sounded like wind or something. All right, so it's so nice being in kind of scenic areas like this, you know, almost no one is... All right, so it's so nice being in kind of scenic areas like this, you know, almost no one is... No, it is this mic picking up the focus motor. Now, technically you can hear it while manually focusing too. It's not necessarily just in autofocus mode, but in autofocus mode, if you're moving around a bunch, it's gonna be trying to track you constantly. And when a lens switch places a lot, it's going to kind of have micro jitters and micro movements and create that much more noise. And that's actually why I added this kind of funky lens support, and that did help a bit. But if you do a ton of like talking to camera, and audio is incredibly important, all I'm saying is in this configuration and setup with this microphone, it picks it up a lot. Something like a lavalier, 100% safe, shotgun mic that's recorded separately, 100% safe. And who knows, maybe you can try out different configurations of putting the microphone like down here or something. So that has been the biggest blow to like my near perfect gimbal setup use, and the only thing that really stays on my mind when I'm using it for that purpose.
Move around, pretty lightweight. What did you think?
Yeah, actually, as far as
Security of your
gimbals go-
guys' studio is pretty rough, but
Yeah, well, we got to
Hey,
get our
man.
security.
door was
checked.
open, and so I decided to just stop by. And
I have to turn the alarms off because it'll ruin the audio. You know how that goes.
We have cameras.
just wanted to stop by, see how you liking the gimbal.
This thing, I'm really impressed. It's a pretty solid gimbal. I may actually start using them again. So the last gimbal I've used the RS2, but it was this thing. and
Okay.
It's bad.
Now, he actually did educate me on how to use this handle properly, because I didn't use it in the beginning, because it fell off almost.
There's a little tab here, if you can see that. That tab, if you put it on the wrong side and you lift up, if we can get it on there, it will just slide right off and the camera will drop. So make sure that little tab is on the correct side.
Now, the real question, can we get a sneak preview of what your edit looks like, just so I can see if this edit compared, you know, because
Sure.
my video's gonna be better, right?
As long as you're done editing. So yeah, have a seat. So here is our preview of our edit. This is the new DJI Ronin RS3. We're gonna put it through its paces in different environments, including another world. But first,
Yep, I saw everything I needed to see. I got some more work on my edit to do. Huge thanks to DJI for letting me get my hands on this weeks in advance so I could really test it out and put together, hopefully, a video that you all are enjoying. I want to be clear that this video was not sponsored by DJI in any way. There was zero money involved in any of this. I actually spent my own money renting that boat and traveling and doing all these things. I generally have not taken my 6K Pro off of this gimbal since I got it about a month ago. It has been so versatile, so easy to use. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. See you in the next video.